This is Adrian Cronauer, the guy Robin Williams played on the movie Good Morning Vietnam. I just want you to know I always tune in to the News Guardian right here on Fox Radio 910.
Now that's the way you do it.
What?
Make a hawk act dove. Stop a war with love. Make a liar tell the truth. Good morning.
That's not at all too much to deal with this early in the morning.
Welcome to the News Guardians on Fox Radio 910 with, yes, one of our ladies of liberty, Wonder Woman, News Guardian, Elizabeth. Good morning.
Hi, yes, I solve all the world's problems before breakfast.
And if you can't solve the problem, you tie it up in a rope.
Well, sure. I mean, it's not my fault that everything gets broken again. I solve everything before breakfast. What everyone else does with that is up to them.
There, once again, are a plethora of stories to tell you about. So I think we may do so that we can give you as much information as possible, try to be as tight, light, and bright in discussing it as possible so that we can tell you about all this stuff because, of course, yesterday we've got a federal court ruling that the IRS can't subsidize health care insurance for people in states where you don't have have a state exchange.
Yeah, but you can.
And our governor is now saying, don't listen to that, just do it anyway, because obviously he doesn't care if you end up indebting yourself to an insurance company and then the government's not going to bail you out after saying they were going to pay for something. The governor just wants you to go ahead and do it. Just do it. Don't worry about it. He'll take care of it, I guess, right? He's going to write the check for for the balance.
Just go have a drink at his bar, tell him all your problems, and he'll just take care of it all.
Now, there's more to that story, which we will talk about later.
There's lots more to that story.
See, there's a fight now to stop a natural gas company from running a pipeline through Southwest Virginia on private property. And according to state law, they can do it, which doesn't make property owners very happy.
And people seem surprised.
Yeah, it's like they didn't...
Wow.
So we're going to talk about some serious issues with regard to that. Roanoke County met yesterday and discussed what to do about the water tower out there in North County. And
should it be pink or should it be blue? I don't know.
Should it be
should it be pyramid shaped? Should it look like an apple? What is the best aesthetics for this water tower? Because that's really what's important.
Which pleasure device should it resemble?
I think it should resemble a dead parrot.
So we'll talk about that. And we keep trying to talk about this story. We're going to get to it today, where basically Obama changed the ACA again through executive order, not through legislation, because we don't really need Congress. We just need him. So once again, breaking the law and increasing your health care costs with the stroke of a pen, straight from the White House. How about... McAuliffe signed the executive order setting hard quotas on who can be contracted with to do state government work. Did you miss that? Did people miss that happening yesterday? Because it did.
It just seems, and I know we'll discuss it, it seems pretty redundant. He's putting things in place that, as far as I knew, were already in place. But we'll talk about that later.
A Confederate group is holding a rally because they're removing the flags from the Lee chapel, which is where he's buried. It's a cemetery essentially, and so they feel they're desecrating his grave site by removing his flag. We'll talk about that. But the most interesting story of the day is.
Pyramid-shaped tea bags?
Yeah.
No, that's not what you're going to say?
No. Is this story from Ohio? The headline, Straight White Guy Festival Outrages Same-Sex Marriage Supporters. Yes, the group that brought you diversity and equality and tolerance for people of all sexual orientations is actually saying if you're a straight white guy, then you shouldn't be allowed to celebrate.
No festival for you.
Nope, no festival you. It's often said that the same people who promote gay pride parades and other such events and hold similar gatherings claim to be the most for equality.
Yeah, well, as we were listening to Michael Youssef that comes on before our show, and that was a great sermon if you missed that, by the way, but one thing I wrote down that he said is tolerance is never contented with tolerance.
Yes, exactly. It's not tolerance for tolerance sake. It's tolerance
for whatever want.
For whatever you want yourself.
Exactly.
Now the flyer, which I'm looking at a copy of here, says in great big bold letters, Straight White Gay Festival, September 20th, 2014. In Gooddale Park.
Is it just in black and white? Because there can be no rainbowy colors on that, right?
It's in red and black and white.
Okay.
Free admission, all ages, everyone welcome. They didn't say if you're homosexual, don't show up.
Nice.
All they're saying is we are going to celebrate being straight and white and male. And homosexual advocacy groups in Ohio are losing their minds and believe that they should shut this down. They should not be allowed to have their festival. I don't understand.
Oh, sure you do.
Seriously. Either they have to say, okay, we're not tolerant, or they have to leave these people alone. You can't have it both ways. I mean, you can because of the double standard. Good morning. I'm the double standard. Get used to me because I'm not going away. But it just underscores the ridiculous nature. But you know why they get away with it? You know why they do it? And you know why this is happening? I've said it before. I've said it over and over again. I'm going to say it again. Do you know why?
I was going to say something rude, but no, why?
Because they are at war with us, people. That's why they get to have the double standard, and that's why the media will support it, because all of those people are in collusion, and they are at war.
That's why tolerance doesn't have to actually mean tolerance.
Exactly.
Because they don't mean tolerance.
If you want to win this war, you're going to have to fight the war. You are not going to do it by sitting at home, watching TV, and complaining. You're not even going to do it by listening to us on the radio. You're going to have to act. You're going to have to change your mindset and understand that those who are trying to destroy your country, destroy your life, destroy your future, destroy your prosperity, they are at war with you. And if you don't meet them on the battlefield, you will lose. And if you don't believe me, look around, because you ain't winning. And you ain't won, and you ain't been winning my entire lifetime. We've won one tiny little battle here and there over the course of the last 4 decades. But the trend is loss. We've won a few sporadic battles, but we are losing the war because we're not fighting the war. They are. So get with it. Figure it out. Or lose. Maybe you want to lose. Let me know. If you just don't care, if you're okay with losing and being mowed down by the enemy, then admit it. But you can't complain about it if you're just going to let it happen.
Of course you can.
No, you can't, because I don't allow the hypocrisy.
You can't complain about it
if you're not going to
win, but you certainly can complain about it and not do anything about it, because that's just classic.
No, that just makes you look stupid.
I think you need more sugar in your coffee.
There's no sugar in my coffee. Well, maybe there is. I don't know. I don't know what was in that creamer I used.
Yes. Monosodium aspartame polyhedric something.
Well,
it's not good for you.
We got to go to break in just a second, but before we do, I'll just give you the little blurb on the Confederate group. Basically, they're going to up at the college in Lexington. They're going to remove the battle flags from General Lee's gravesite, essentially the memorial there, and so they're going to hold a rally. The rally is going to be at 4 o'clock. Let's see. I like how the story tells you what day the rally will be, because the newspaper obviously doesn't want you to show your support by going, so they don't tell you when it's going to be. They just say at 4, but they don't say on what day. So it's going to be at the Holiday Inn Express up in Lexington. So the only thing I can say here is call the Holiday Inn Express and ask them when they're going to have the rally's going to be there, because
if you want to go,
because the Roanoke Times isn't going to let you know, because they don't want you to show up and support this. At any rate, this is another example of these people are fighting a war. And they're going to have a rally. Boy, that'll do it. That always works, doesn't it? How often do rallies work when people who are not liberal, socialist, communist scum
They
have
certainly
them?
work when other people do them.
Right, but they don't work unless
you
you're...
12 people show up somewhere, and they'll put the camera in real tight and tell you how thousands of people were there.
Let me tell you what you want to do, people up there in Lexington. Listen to me carefully. Are you listening? Don't hold a rally. Go up there and put the flags back up. It's plain and simple. And if they take the flags down, you put them back up again. And if you care enough about it, stand there and defend the flag. But don't wander around a parking lot at Holiday Inn waving signs. Because that isn't doing anything. They're fighting a war, and you're getting beat. You're going to have to wake up and figure it out.
News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
And we're back. Welcome back, News Guardian Elizabeth.
Yo.
All right.
So,
2 interesting stories here.
quota for me, quota for you.
Yes, but first...
No. Okay, go ahead.
But first, we're going to talk about the rights that state law has given... Wow. Has given natural...
Gas companies?
Gas companies.
Yes.
Having a little trouble opening it up.
Yes, this is another one of those times when we will squawk about the importance of paying attention to what's going on in Richmond. Because there are so many folks who feel that they are up in the know, they're politically savvy, but they only care about what's going on in Washington, D.C., which is not cool. What happens in Richmond has quite a bit of effect on your life, and could be even more important. So we're always telling people that it's just 3 months. They're just in session for 3 months. You got to pay attention a little longer than that. Yes, that's true. But it's exactly what this story brings to mind when people are shocked and appalled that the state, Commonwealth of Virginia, has given power companies, which includes natural gas companies, rights to your land.
This comes from Afton, Virginia, this particular story, but this is going to go through, evidently, they're trying to run this thing through Floyd, it's going to go through a number of counties and people's private property. But the story says a certified letter, this comes from WDBJ7, a certified letter is the first notice Charlotte Ray says she ever received about a pipeline, possibly running under her property. I was just devastated, said Ray. I didn't know that any utility company could just come on my property and take it away from me.
Sorry.
Dominion Resources has proposed building a natural gas pipeline that would stretch 450 miles from West Virginia to North Carolina. The proposed route runs through parts of Highland and Nelson counties. Landowners along the route received letters from Dominion in May informing them surveyors needed to access their land. That's the letter she received. It didn't say anything about what I should do if I didn't want to give them permission. Yes, Miss Ray, because there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do.
The ultimate plan for us is to create the best possible route with the least possible impact, according to the gas company. So Ray says, well, if they come on my property, I'm going to call the sheriff. And the sheriff is going to say they have a right to. Because that's the way your state legislators wrote the law.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we're making light of her pain, because I'm sure she is truly shocked. And
I'm sure.
But, this is nothing that other people in Virginia haven't gone through with AP and then the power lines.
And shouldn't have gone through.
No, but
if you're not going to do anything about it, this is what you're going to get. You know why? Because the people that want to take away your property rights and your health care,
they always have a darn good reason.
And they are at war with you. That's why you don't have property rights, Mrs. Ray. Because they're at war and you're watching Jeopardy. That's why. And that's why those guys are going to be traipsing around on your land.
Jeopardy.
The Virginia, no. And if you think that's bad, it's even worse. The state law, with respect to utilities, because the water authorities, we made them the government. They're not a private co-op anymore. They're now the government. The water authority has the authority of the state government. And you know what they're trying to do right now? For all of you out there that are on a well and septic system, let me tell you a secret. Written into state law is the ability for the water authority to force you to hook up to their service and make it illegal for you to use your own well and your own septic.
Now, sometimes they've been getting around that in the Commonwealth by just simply charging you the fees that you would have to pay if you were on the water system and just allowing you to keep your septic system,
Well, right.
It's a compromise.
And we talked with Delegate Greg Habib about this 3 years ago, and he rolled his eyes at me. You know why? Because they don't care. You know why? Because tyranny is fighting a war against you. And you're not fighting back. So when they show up to your house and tell you they're going to hook you up to water and you say, I don't want to.
And they say,
too bad.
Tough.
This is why, people. This is why. So.
Sorry, we have no uplifting news for those who are going to fight the pipeline. They can take it to court. Absolutely can take it to court. They can claim that the Virginia law is against the Virginia Constitution or somehow illegal.
There's going to be another special session of the General Assembly, I've been told.
Over this?
Over something else, which means you could throw this in.
Sure,
you could throw this in with it.
You open up the General Assembly again. Anybody can
talk to your representatives and tell them you want this stopped.
Now they'll tell you they can't. This is funny. They'll tell you, well, we're going to open a special session. We can only talk about the reason we opened the special session for. We can only talk about that. That's not true.
No.
It's what they want to do because they want to do the thing and then go home.
Right. What you need to do is no matter what excuse they use to tell you why they can't deal with this problem or any other, is tell them they're lying to you and to do it anyway. And when they tell you some other lame excuse, tell them, nope, you're lying to me, do it anyway. Get a bunch of your friends. All of you talk to them. Get their friends. Because those who are trying to take away your rights are fighting a war against you. How many times do I need to say that?
I'm guessing that's the theme for today's show, so you're going to say it a lot.
So Terry McAuliffe did something interesting today, talking about
he didn't.
About state law. Yes, Terry wrote an executive order.
You said he did something interesting.
I didn't say it was good. Wrote an executive order that will send contracts to small minority and women-owned businesses, not as a suggestion.
And micro businesses, that's my favorite.
As a law. And not only does it mandate how many of these contracts must go to women or minority-owned businesses, it also says that even if in a bidding process the government could have gotten whatever it is cheaper through some other means or some other bid, they have to pay more for it to meet the quota for the female and minority-owned business.
I thought they already had suggested guidelines in this area when choosing contractors.
This is not a guideline. This is a mandate. This is different. This is a mandate. Now, here's the question: what do you do if you don't have enough? What if there are not enough people applying for these contracts that are minority or women-owned businesses? Then they're going to be forced to break the law by default because it was impossible.
You're trying to apply logic to a situation that is fully fueled on non-logic, and if that situation were to come about, I'm sure somebody would have a tolerant solution.
Maybe. When we come back, Terry McAuliffe did something else yesterday.
Besides have a beer?
Yes, with respect to Obamacare, and we're going to, and I'm not talking about Medicaid expansion.
Which he's also doing.
I'm talking about he's now giving you financial advice and legal advice. And we'll talk about that when we return to News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
This is News Guardian. News Guardian.
I love your show, man. It's great. We just need to talk about it.
On WFJX, Fox Radio 910.
And welcome back. Woo! Don't listen to her. We don't just need to talk about it.
We don't just need to talk?
No, because the enemy is not just talking about it. They're doing it. They are doing it.
I think drinking coffee is a good way to prepare.
Yesterday was an interesting roller coaster ride for both supporters and
opponents
of the Affordable Health Care Act, which has been dubbed Obamacare.
So, yeah, right there.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Need some CPR or something?
So early in the day, the DC appeals court found that the subsidies that are being given under the Obamacare law by the IRS to people who use the federal exchange to purchase their health care plan are illegal. And that's because the way it reads in the Affordable Health Care Act says, quote, that subsidies are available to exchanges established by the state. Not by the feds, by the states, because they are supposed to happen in state exchanges.
Yeah, but Nancy Pelosi said you didn't actually have to read the bill.
No, to vote on it.
To vote on it.
Because now we're finding out what's in it. So essentially what they're saying is if in Virginia, because we don't have a state exchange in Virginia. We didn't set one up, so people have been told to use the federal exchange at healthcare.gov to go through the process of getting your healthcare insurance, which means if you did that, according to the D.C. appeals court, the subsidy that you are expecting to get from the IRS to cover the exorbitant new cost of your healthcare insurance
is illegal,
which means your every dollar that you thought was being subsidized since you first purchased that all the way back to the beginning,
then we're there with you,
is illegal. If that's the way this ends up in the end, you're going to owe that money. And for some people, that's going to be tens of thousands of dollars over the last couple of years.
For quite a few people. Because the way the federal government set up, or the ACA set up the limits for those who qualify for subsidies, you can make up to $90,000 a year and still qualify for these subsidies. So
be careful. Because right now, if that's the situation for you, and everybody in Virginia who did it that way, this is affecting you. If that's the way this ends up, you owe the money, and it could be thousands and thousands, whatever you're.
According to one court.
Whatever. Right now, that affects us because we lost our health care insurance last December. And it took us 4 months to be able to get new insurance, and there was no way to buy insurance without dealing with the government.
We could do a week's worth of shows just on that experience alone.
We tried to do this without dealing with the government, and when we finally thought we had done that, then the agent that we went to said, okay, we're going to call healthcare.gov.
Yes, even if you go to a broker, the only way they can write your insurance
is to go to
healthcare.gov.
So we were forced into it. And now, because of this ruling, if it stands, we too are going to owe thousands of dollars in money because of this nonsense. And I was perfectly fine with the crappy health care insurance I had last year.
I liked our health care last year.
It wasn't great, and I thought it was too expensive. But this is even worse and even more expensive. Sure. And now we're indebted. Now we're in debt because of it.
Okay, But
Terry McAuliffe says, don't worry about that. Your governor thinks that he knows more about the law and finances than you do. Because our illustrious governor, Bill and Hillary's fundraiser, says, just do it anyway. Just don't worry about all that. Just do it anyway.
Well, because later in the day, another judge
in the Fourth Circuit
said, now, what's being reported, this court said, is not exactly what they said. Of course, I'm so shocked, right? What's being reported that they said is that what the previous court ruled was incorrect, that the subsidies are absolutely legal. Okay, so it's being reported that these two rulings are completely opposite. What actually happened is that the second court ruled that the law is ambiguously worded and cannot be clearly deciphered. Therefore, their advice is to revert to whatever the IRS says is the right thing to do.
Yep.
That's what the second court said.
Well, and how can we disagree with that? Because in the Constitution, under Article 7, where it talks about the IRS and what the powers of the IRS are, it says that when the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the legislative branch are in disagreement over something that the IRS is doing, that the IRS has the authority to make that judgment. I
thought that, because that's what seems to be happening, so I thought that must be law somewhere.
Yep. It's
an invisible ink, and what you have to do is you have to rub it with your finger really hard on the Constitution, and then that's what pops up is this law about what the IRS can do. It's amazing.
The IRS has their own courts and their own judges. They might as well be able to decide what the law says, right? I mean, that's the way the Constitution was written, right? Welcome to the socio-political horror show, people. And you know why it's this way?
Because they're at war with us?
Yes! Because they are at war with us, people.
I'm sorry, war's not funny. You're just funny when you say that.
I'm serious.
I know you are.
That's exactly why this is this way. That's why these things are this way. So, wake up. And if that's not bad enough...
Liberty Coffee.
If that's not bad enough... Let me read this story. Headline this is from the Fiscal Times. How an Obamacare tweak could save insurers millions and cost the insured millions. The insurance industry is quietly pushing lawmakers to tweak a very wonky rule in the Affordable Health Care Act that could save them money and significantly reduce the amount of consumers would receive in rebates every year. At issue is the ACA's medical loss ratio, which requires insurers to expend at least 80% of their revenue from premiums on health care and no more than 15% on administrative costs. If insurers don't meet that MLR, they are required to rebate the difference to their customers.
Yes, and the year before Obamacare took effect, you and I were receiving rebate checks
from our private insurance.
They
were already getting ready.
Of this stipulation.
Well, they were getting ready for what they were going to be forced to do the following year. They were already putting it into place. So what the president did was write an executive order. Now, this hasn't been changed in the law. Congress didn't change change these ratios in the law. The president decided that he would just do it and write it as an executive order, which means rebates that you would have been given for if your insurance company fell under this ratio, you're now not going to get. Your insurance just got more expensive because the president signed another executive order.
Because the insurance companies went to the Prez and said, hey, Prez, you know that community organizing group you're planning on putting together after your presidency? Yeah, it might get some donations maybe here, see, if maybe you can make sure we don't got to give some of that money back, see?
Now, let me further explain what's going on here. For those of you who think the ills of our civilization, of American civilization, is big business and big corporations, well, you're only partially right. And for those of you who think the ills of our society are because of big government, well, you're partially right. The truth is, the destruction of our society is because big government and big corporations are best friends. They're BFFs. And together, they're killing us. Now, the corporations could not do this were it not for us giving the government the authority to do these things for them. And not only giving them the authority, but the government will use guns, will use deadly force to support what they are giving away to these corporations. So if you're in the sound of my voice and you think the solution to this problem is more government control, the government's the ones helping the corporations do this. Wake up.
Liberty Coffee.
They need something.
I need some. I'm having a small business idea right now, which will be illegal next year, I'm sure. But I'm a female, so if I own the company, then all of these places in Virginia are required to contract with me. I'm a genius.
I think
I'll be making Liberty coffee, y'all. See you.
I think we need to make you president of our corporation again.
I got too much going on with this new company right now, but if you'd like to set a meeting with my secretary, I'll see what he can do for you.
All right. When we return, we're going to talk about what happened yesterday in the Roanoke County Board of Supervisors with respect to the water tower, and what happened Monday in the Roanoke City Council with respect to a cell phone tower when we return.
News Guardians on Fox Radio 910.
Welcome back.
No, I'm sorry, I was on the phone with a distributor. I'm just trying to multitask here with my newfound business.
Nice to have you back on News Guardians, Fox Radio 910 with News Guardian Greg and Elizabeth. Our
President Elizabeth.
Our Liberty Lady, Woman of Liberty, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I'm going to have to copyright that. The Liberty Lady thing.
Lady.
So
next week we'll have another one of Liberty's ladies, Melissa Scott from the Roanoke Valley Area Libertarian Party, and she'll be here. And we're going to have Liberty's ladies alternating from now on, week to week. So every other week will be Elizabeth, and every other week will be Melissa. And we'll talk with them about the stories of the day, so we can get the ladies of Liberty opinion on what's happening.
yeah, I don't know if that's possible. I may be in discussions with her about creating her own branch of libertarian coffee with Liberty Coffee and Libertarian Coffee.
And then require that all state government offices buy that coffee for their break rooms, right? Because Terry McAuliffe says
Women-owned businesses,
Yeah.
especially micro businesses, which is 25 people or less.
so.
Use it if you can.
Yesterday, in the Roanoke County Board of Supervisors, they talked further about the water tower that the Western Virginia Water Authority says needs to be put out in North County. This is to provide a solution to the water pressure issues that people are experiencing out there because of the growth in, in water usage. I keep silently hiccuping. I did it again.
Sure. Yeah, there's, more population needs more water, less pressure.
Now, what's going on here is you've got the Western Virginia Water Authority says, at no cost to you, we'll put up a water tower. It's a basic water tower. It looks like a cylinder. It'll do the job, and we'll foot the cost. But there have been people who think those are ugly, and they want some attractive-looking, stylistic water tower, similar to like the ones that are painted like hot air balloons down in Wytheville, or the ones up in Winchester that are shaped of an apple, or they want something like that, which could cost $200,000 or more. And if that's what the Water Authority puts up, Roanoke County is going to have to pay the bill. So, of course, there's a battle here between people who think we should let the Water Authority do what it is they're going to do, and because they're already being paid. They're already getting the water money for this, and that's what should pay for this.
They're paid by us, but, it's a different story.
And those who think that it's prudent for the county to incur more debt and spend even more money so that we can have some special water tower. Now, we had Al Bedrosian on the radio yesterday, and Al says he's in favor of the cylindrical type that'll be free because he doesn't believe that spending a couple $100,000 on something else is proper use of taxpayer money.
Do you have any other ideas?
No.
I'm disappointed. Al, here's what you need to do. You need to have, they just put up the basic water tower. Then you need to have a contest to give somebody the right to create the design for it. And then they get to put it on there at their cost.
Well, one of the things that have been said is if we go with the more expensive water tower, it will allow a lot more surface area for us to sell radio and cell phone transmission antenna space. And it can actually be a moneymaker. This is another one of those times when people in government who are trying to get what they want are trying to convince us, well, if you give us the more expensive solution we want, in the long run, we'll make money because of this, that, and the other. They're running the scam again.
You can have both. Have the plain old water tower, put cell towers on it, and sell ad space.
Well, here's I think a very appropriate way to go about this.
Okay.
Let the people who want to have a different water tower pay for it themselves. we can probably hold off on putting the tower up long enough for them to have a fundraiser. Raise the money privately and pay for the water tower you want. If it's so important to you to not have a cylinder-shaped water tower, then pay for the water tower you want. We shouldn't stop them. If that's what they really want, they should get to have it. What they shouldn't get to do is to use the force of government to point a gun at all of their neighbors and force them to pay for the water tower that these people want. That's what freedom is. That's what liberty is. And that's the proper way to treat your neighbors. We've forgotten that in American society. At any rate, I'm doubting that that's the way they're going to go. But anybody would be hard pressed to explain to me why it is unreasonable for me to suggest that the people who want some specialized water tower find a way to pay for it themselves.
Okay, yeah, because all kidding aside, the basics is if you want a water tower, you build a water tower because you need it. It's a necessity. Does it have to be colorful? Does it have to have any painting on it? It's a water tower. People have had water towers for many years, and they don't all have to look like Picasso was here. I don't know. I think it's all kind of silly, which is why I'm making fun of it. It's a water tower, dude.
I'm fine with those people wanting something interesting or creative. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with them forcing other people who don't want that to have to pay for it against their will.
Well, sure.
That's just mean. That is a hateful way to treat people. And if that's what's in your head, there is something wrong with you. You have a mental disorder. If you think that because you want a pretty water tower, that all of your neighbors should be forced against their will to pay for what you want.
Just do what they do. You pay some teenagers to go spray paint it. Right?
That'll probably happen anyway, no matter what you do. We've just got a couple of minutes left. We got another local story here from Roanoke City, and this involves putting up the cell tower. Now,
we're going from water towers to cell towers.
When this was described to me, they made it sound like they were sticking this cell tower up down the street from Crystal Springs in the middle of the South Roanoke neighborhood. As it turns out, this cell tower is going up at the corner of Reserve and Franklin, over in a commercial district.
Mm-hmm. Well, the hospital area.
I'm confused as to why.
But it's going to be really, really tall.
I'm confused. There's another one down Franklin at the
and near wait, isn't there a place near there called Towers?
Yeah, right behind it up on the hill.
That was actually named because
they put up
the
radio towers, yes. But if you go just a little further down Franklin Road, there's a cell tower there at the car lot. What is the problem here, people?
Well, is it necessary if there's one just down the road? I'm not in on all the technological mumbo jumbo of how many cell towers you have to have in order to get super reception. I'm not sure if it depends on whether it's a Sprint tower or a Verizon tower.
What the wireless companies are saying is that the usage in that area is starting to exceed their capacity, and another tower is necessary if they're going to be able to provide the service that people are trying to use in that area. Now, if that weren't the case, they wouldn't be spending the money to do this. They're not going to provide a service that nobody needs, and they're not going to get paid for because it's just a waste of money.
Is there no way for them to upgrade towers that currently exist? I'm sorry, that would be a question that the city council would need to ask if they
did. If you've seen the other tower that's down Franklin, there's no more room on that thing to put up any more antennas. It's covered. What I think is most interesting about this story is who voted against the tower. Vice Mayor David Trinkle, who's all for sticking stuff up in other people's neighborhoods. But the South Roanoke resident Dave Trinkle, when something is going to go up that he believes is too close to his neighborhood, well, then he's against it. And that's what you get when you vote for people like this. When you vote for double standards and lies and treachery, this is what you get. Because he wouldn't have had any problem sticking that cell tower up in in the, pick your neighborhood, Williamson Road. Off Williamson Road. You think he'd have cared if they were going to? Obviously, he doesn't care because they're going to stick a hotel up in the middle of those people's neighborhood. And that's great. What if they were going to put a hotel up down from the Anthony's in Crystal Spring? You think Dave Trinkle would think that's such a good idea?
Gonna guess no.
No. It wouldn't. Because he's a selfish, righteous loser that you've made a city council member and now the vice mayor. So you remember that. You remember that when he's invading your neighborhood with a bunch of garbage that you don't want. You remember that he won't allow it to invade his own neighborhood because he's part of the rich elite. And he doesn't have to deal with that stuff because he has the power now. And he can make you deal with that stuff.
You will respect my authority.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor David Trinkle.
Now, my favorite statement is that he feels that the city needs to re-examine the placement of cell towers and their cell tower
Oh, my God.
policies.
That's so stupid. They vote on every single one of these things, evidently. What does the policy matter when the city council's going to decide on every single one of them? That's just ridiculously stupid. It makes it look like he's actually trying to do something for the people. No, he's not. He's giving you the big screw.